Carlos Nelson with Cascade Media Group. And tonight, we're going to be talking about some legal issues. And we have some people that have been in the legal profession and practicing law for some time. Uh, who do we have here? Stephenie, why don't you introduce yourself first?
I'm attorney Stephenie Burton. I am a criminal trial attorney in Kansas City, Missouri. I've been practicing law for the last 13 years.
All right, Miss DuPree.
Hi, my name is attorney Arimeta DuPree. I am a criminal defense attorney here in Kansas City, Missouri, and within our nation. And I have been practicing law for, oh Lord have mercy,
Don't
since
date yourself, honey.
2004.
All right.
20 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
20
Oh,
years.
so we got the Esquires on here, but now we're getting ready to talk some serious talk
Yeah.
about the Supreme Court, the legal system, Justice Alito. I really called them in regards to the flag incident with the U.S. flag turned upside down, and then this other flag that really the Klan is using, and the people that uh, January 6th, they use that as their banner. And I think that both of these attorneys are in better position to talk about these issues than I am. So, uh, Stephenie, why don't you lead off on what you feel about the Supreme Court uh, and the legal system in general as it relates to where it's moving, and do you think that uh, the legal system is working on the behalf of the average American? And that goes from uh, right to life and the other different issues that uh, they've taken up. And if they are biased in the way that they're portraying Clarence Thomas, let's get him in this conversation also, with the trips and the things that they've been able to just say, oh, it was my wife that did it. But I know, as I've said on many programs, and a lot of people say, why do you be saying this, Miss Nelson? I'm a gangster posing as a businessman, and I've had my run-ins with the law, and the law has not been even-handed. And as I said before we got on the show, that y'all deal with this in a real personal way on a day-to-day basis, and it has to have some profound psychological effect on you and possibly your family uh, when you see certain things done uh, in the name of the law. So, without further ado, uh, Ms. Burton, would you uh, give us your feelings and what you know about the flag incident and how you feel about uh, patronism, or as far as I'm concerned, it's just straight out bribes. But I'll let you, I'll let you walk that tightrope.
Well, I mean, you know, I've, uh, I'm becoming quite disheartened with our court, with our Supreme Court, because it seems like now we're moving backwards. All of the legal decisions and opinions that were given civil liberties, all of the ones that were in place that people fought so hard to get, especially with having women on the court. I mean, just different things that we have all fought hard to get and to attain is now being dismantled. And it's being dismantled in the name of politics. And that's what's disturbing for me, because as a lawyer, my first obligation is to the law, right? And upholding the law and upholding the Constitution. And it seems as if the current court, the current Supreme Court, is not about upholding the Constitution and upholding the law. as it is as much as it is about trying to undo the legacies that have been put in place. And so it's one thing to disagree with an opinion. It's another thing to just totally dismantle the legal framework that has been set and put into place and dismantle all of the forward progress that has been in place. And so right now we see, as women, we see our bodies are on the ballot yet again. Here we are after all of the years of success with Roe v. Wade. That was overturned. And now we're having to deal with this issue again, where we could be looking at, basement abortions and things that are completely unsafe and that don't value women, and dealing with women's mortality issues, the right to autonomy in our own bodies, to where the court, and even what is a lot more disturbing is that the person that they replaced Ruth Bader Ginsburg with couldn't be any more opposite than RBG. And the people that they've replaced who have taken, that they replaced these champions of the court with, are people that have just taken on the role of dismantling the legacy that was put in place. It's kind of like when they appointed Clarence Thomas to replace Thurgood Marshall. I mean, it was like, could you get any more opposite? And the Supreme Court is so powerful because it is a lifetime appointment. I mean, you die with your seat. And there's really not a way to remove that person. And people don't really understand that when they go into these ballot booths and they're casting their votes, that when you put your United States senators in place, these are the people that are going to vote to confirm Supreme Court justices. When you vote for president, that person has the power to nominate the Supreme Court justice. And those people are lifetime appointments. And so these people that we have seen, I remember when it was the Kavanaugh confirmation hearings. And I remember thinking, this man is going to be on the court the remainder of my career. Mm-hmm. And so because they're a lifetime appointment and he's fairly young, he will be on the court the remainder of my career. And just we were going through these confirmation hearings where we had Supreme Court justices who hadn't even been in trials, but the way they treated Ketanji, who was the most experienced trial attorney of all of the people on the court combined.
She's bad.
Oh, yes.
She's a baddie. She's a bad
A former
girl.
Public defender, a trial attorney, a judge in the hardest circuit to become a judge. And then they treated her as if by some way she was unqualified and hadn't earned the right to be there. And so I get disappointed because, this is what I've worked my whole life to do. I am living somebody's dream right now, mm-hmm. right? I am the dream embodied and I'm living it. Yeah. And I'm trying hard to fight to continue to make changes in my own community, in my own space. And it's hard when you look to the court and you see them trying to continuously kick us back and trying to tell us to stay in our lane, not even to necessarily stay in our lane, but to get back in a lane that I was privileged enough to never have to even experience, because people had already bled that road for me to get to where I am, right? Yeah. And so now to see it as an attorney, seeing it in practice, seeing the legal system just have these rights be picked off, the gerrymandering, and the court not caring about the law. That's what disturbs me, because one thing that I love is the law. It is, it ingrains everything that I do, and it's hurtful to see, because on the one hand, we've seen extraordinary pieces of history. We've seen the first Black president, the first Black vice president, the first female vice president that's also Black. That's a lawyer. And we saw a Supreme Court justice that looks like us, that you could stand next to me and Arimeta and she looks like us, that did what we do, that defended people like we do. And that was a huge victory for us as attorneys, to be able to see somebody from our background that looks like us attain that highest position. But at the same time, now seeing her having to just kind of take up this bloodstained banner and fight through this process. And she's not fighting alone, but she's in the minority because she's fighting with the other, she's trying to walk lockstep with these other women on the court, not Amy, but the other ones that are trying to uphold this legacy and uphold everything that people have fought so hard for. So it is, I'm disgusted and frustrated with the fact that we're kind of stuck with these people, for the duration of their lives, and hoping that they will get back to and see that our first oath as an attorney is to the Constitution and to upholding the Constitution. And I couldn't be more disappointed with Clarence Thomas, even though the bar was real low for disappointment, for him disappointing me any further. But yet and still, he continues to show that he can't be counted on. It's
well, Stephenie, he can be counted on. He can be counted on to not do what is right and just by minority people and people who need him and people. He replaced Thurgood Marshall.
And I wanted to interrupt, Ms. DuPree. Speak on how you feel on what Ms. Burton has talked about and some of the things that you see from a legal standpoint that you're not pleased with the Supreme Court and how they have handled these cases that are affecting women's bodies and people of color. And
well,
go ahead.
Okay. So first and foremost, I co-sign on what Attorney Burton has said. She is speaking the absolute truth. We are in the show me state, and she is showing you the truth. There are problems that's going on right now with the United States Supreme Court. And as an attorney, it just breaks my heart to see this, because not only am I an attorney, but I am an attorney of faith. And so when I go into anything, I go into it doing what I got to do, because it is a gift from God that I get to do it. However, and I do want to thank Cascade Media for having us here. Thank you, sir. However, here we go. Today, May 23rd, 2024, the United States Supreme Court, Thomas Alexander, who in his official capacity as president of the South Carolina Senate versus the South Carolina State Conference of the NAACP. The NAACP, they were the defendants, okay? And they had a problem with the gerrymandering that's going on in South Carolina. They took 30,000 Democratic votes, 30,000 Democratic votes away to punch onto the Republican. They just took it away. And the United States Supreme Court said, no, there's no racial bias. This is okay. This is all right. Because the Republicans want to keep control. And that's sad.
I want to interject this. That second flag, not the U.S. flag, the flag that the people that stormed the Capitol, they use. It's a white supremacist flag. To me, is coded language, and they try to say that this flag was flown in the Revolution and this and that. Do you have any opinion about white supremacy and the ability of white supremacists to infiltrate the the law, our police force, our military, our judicial branches. I'm stepping back. I'd like both of y'all to have some conversation on it, go back and forth per se.
Now, is this not the same flag that they just spotted outside of Alito's house?
That's the one.
Yeah. So, I mean, therein we have our answer. I mean, and and I'm not gonna just come out here and say Samuel Alito is a white supremacist. I'm not gonna make that blanket statement. I don't know the man, but if you're flying this flag outside of your house, I mean, and
hey,
if that's what
so you say you're not gonna do it, but I'm gonna tell you I am. I'm gonna say most of them are in the closet Klan. And
well, hold on. I'm gonna play devil's advocate, although I have my own opinion about it. Didn't he say it was something about his wife doing something and he didn't know?
They love to blame the wife.
And listen, that sound like
welcome back to the garden. It's the woman you gave me.
That sound like the dog ate the homework.
Well, the dog did eat the homework and probably put the flag up. But at the beginning and at the end of the day, I wear this flag. I wear this flag every time I go into court. And let me just give one shout out. We got Memorial Day coming up to all of our veterans.
Do you know who started Memorial Day?
Tell me.
Black people.
Black of course people were the
first ones to come up to honor their dead from the wars. And this is the thing. They fly that flag. Who was the first person to get killed in the revolution? Yeah, Chris McSaddick. I'm like, Black people have been at the forefront of this country in every way possible, from inventions that the majority community has stole, and the court systems and what have you have been rigged and disenfranchised us. And this doesn't have anything to do with this conversation, but it does. The same things that are happening with this guy, Puffy Combs, with the music industry, and all of this is showing a pattern of white supremacy cloaked in some different clothes. So I'm talking, but y'all get into this conversation, and as I said, I'm bowing out.
Okay, so when we're dealing with the federal court, or let's just take a step back. When we're dealing with lawyers, okay, we're all bound by ethics, right? We have professional responsibility.
I can't tell.
There's rules
when we're dealing
that
I know that, but I said I can't tell. They have rules about everything. But that is the point. When these people break the rules, the highest court, as far as I'm concerned, if they corrupt, they only aid into the dismantling of the law.
And that's what I'm talking about, where, you know, just remember when we had decisions like the Dred Scott decision, where the court was being used to further the injustice. And then we saw a shift and we saw things start to change, where the Supreme Court was the one you could go to for relief to get it right. And now we can't trust that anymore. That is now lost, because it used to be where we could appeal to the highest court of the land and get some relief. But now you're just going to be further re-victimized by the system, because the highest court that's supposed to give you the relief is no longer following precedent and following the law. And what do we do in this situation? Because we're now at a point where we can't trust the Supreme Court to do it and get it right. We can't vote them out. They're there. And what do we do as lawyers when we are especially doing defense work, we are already
at a disadvantage.
and we're already at an uphill climb trying to fight for justice. And now it's just like Richard Pryor used to say, it's just us.
It's just us. Okay, so what we can do is go back to the rules, right? Because there are rules. Federal
right, selective
judges,
enforcement of who has to follow them.
Right. There we go. See, you know what?
But hold on, Miss Nelson. So federal judges have a rule. It's 28 USC 455. 28 USC 455. Now, I know that the judges in the Western District of Missouri follow this rule. I know. I've
the
seen
ones
it.
We practice in front of, yes.
Because they're ethical and they follow the rules. They have rules, and then they have somebody to govern their rules. So how do we change this? How do we change it? We got to get people in the House and in the Senate to put some rules in place for these individuals.
But I don't think you can do it. I don't think you can do that. That's what my initiative, Cascades Initiative, block voting and group economics. That is the only way you can change the playing field. And all of that begins with communications. You cannot have block voting if you can't even contact the people in your community and say, we're going to meet on 31st Street at 2:00. When we say we're going to meet at 31st Street, only a select 25 people in the neighborhood know that they're going to meet there. And then they say they represent all the Black community and they give the store away. And that's not block voting or group economics. As I'm always saying, you have a Black superintendent of the Kansas City School District, but they have a lot of economics that are going out from taxpayers. They have a lot of milk that is being served in school. What is the company doing in your community that is primarily people of color and Hispanic? Are they doing anything besides taking the resources out your community and not circulating any of those economics in your community? That is an issue for the people at the top, just like in the legal profession. But if the people at the top are selective in what they enforce and who they enforce it with, you really don't have no solution besides block voting and group economics, because they will pay attention if you stop spending your money with them. That's what the Montgomery bus got. All right. And what I say to a lot of people, especially Black people, what have you heard the word boycott in the last 20 years? They've taken that out of our lexicon. They've disarmed us from a media standpoint. They have us focused on the wrong things. And when you start to try to focus on some things that possibly can help change your political and your economic situation, the same leadership that we have in our community are disrailing a lot of different things. It's not just the establishment, it's a mindset. And y'all have the mindset to come on this program to talk about these issues, but I would say 65% of our community don't even know or care what's going on. Therefore, they're able to take these rights away from us and they codify them in law.
You know, and you are 100% correct. So this past weekend, I was at the Kansas City Black Expo. This was the first time that we've had the Black Expo in many, 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 many years, maybe a decade or more. And so I was there as a part of my church. But we were also registering people to vote, right? And so there was a guy, he was probably 55 or higher, and he had a business, and his business was to create puzzles. And I was like, okay, well, are you registered to vote? You want me to sign up for an app? You want me to put my personal information, like my IP address, because my IP address is very personal, right? That's as personal as you can get. That's as personal as a social security number, right? So I said, well, are you registered to vote? He was not. And I said, well, let me register you. And he refused to. He refused to register to vote. And this is a man who was between 55 and 65. I didn't ask him how old he was. He actually could have been older because, you know, black don't crack. But he could have been older.
Who was the last election here in Kansas City? I'm talking about just recently. What was the last thing?
That was April 2nd. That was the stadium tax.
All right. Let me tell you this. I'm ashamed to say it, but I speak truth to power. That's the first election I didn't even vote since I was 18 and voted. I'm so fed up that the vote act like it don't even count no more. And
but that's what they want you to do.
Hold it. Let me say this. I am talking about our political representation. Yeah, we know that. That's what they want. But if you vote and your political representation takes your vote to negotiate deals for themselves and their friends, why am I voting? That's what they do to us. They say the vote is the most important thing that you have. But if you vote and the people that you have representing you sell you out, that's why you have these low voter turnouts. That's how the people can do that gerrymandering, because we have not engaged our bottom 2/3 of our community. Numbers make the difference. You don't have to have 50,000 votes. If you have 2,000 block votes and they going at it, those 2,000 can decide who wins and who loses.
Correct.
And I've seen it work, but I have not seen at the last 30 years us working it, us coming together. As I always sign off, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. But the establishment have you believing all these negative things about your community. I want to invest in my community, but right now I just need to take care of me and my family. And as long as we have that mindset, you can never implement block voting and group economics, because you're always going to be looking out for yourself and your family, and you can never look out for them as well as if everybody is looking out for the community, because you're included in the community. And if the community is doing well, you're going to do well.
And the community does well when the community votes. Yeah, and when the community puts the right people in local office.
What I find with all of that, and I'll just go to Freedom to be, I came here in 78. Freedom was a monster. Freedom definitely represented Black people here, but it was a different time, different era. And Black people didn't have anything per se. Black people had burnt the cities down and said, we tired of this. And the establishment said, uh-oh, we better throw some money at this situation. And here in Kansas City, they got the model cities. Bernard Powell had SAC 20, Social Action Committee at 20. There was money to create businesses. Right at the apex, brought about a person like a Don Maxwell, that monies came in and development in our communities came in. But how I looked at all of that also is a certain section of our community got with the majority community, and I call it, they learned them little games they play, and then they came back and played them on our community. And over the last 30 years, income and the shiny object has taken the place of our kinship and our ability to trust one another, our ability to take control of our school districts and the things that are in our community. And I think at this point, having these conversations with real
absolutely
can help change the mindset. Because Dr. Marge, she used to be on my show all the time, and she had a sign off: be the change that you would like to see.
That's right.
Hold it. Mr. Nelson, I'm like, man, you need to cut all that cornball stuff out in my head. But I subscribe to that with the last breath, because
100%.
when I start thinking different, I start seeing the world differently. And I start not blaming people, and not, it's like, I want to see block voting and group economics, then I need to be about building that platform.
Right.
Absolutely. And being that example. And today's a new day. Today is a new day. And it's such a blessing that we have platforms like you, Mr. Nelson, and Cascade Media, where we can reach people, where we can get out into the community, where young people who listen to podcasts can see us. I practice, and Stephenie practice, and Attorney Burton practices primarily in federal court. We were up in federal court all day today. And then we got back to our offices, and we're dealing with young Black men, older Black men, middle-aged Black men who had the tanks outside of their houses, who had who have been charged with guns and violence, who have been charged with connections with the Chiefs parade mass shooting. We're dealing with this every day. And so when we look at what is going on in our community and how we are fighting to protect, not just to be like, oh, my client's not guilty, because some of them are guilty, but to protect the constitutional right, that right that each one of us as lawyers take an oath to protect and to abide by. That's what we do. And so when we see the lackadaisical approach from the highest level, it kind of makes us say, because I know good and well, if Stephenie, all right, we're sitting up there, if I had my flag, because I wear my flag every time I go to federal court. This is my husband's flag. He is a veteran. Shout out to all the veterans.
That's right. Big shout out to them.
Yay. And I get to go to Fort Leavenworth tomorrow to lay some flowers on my husband's grave. But I know good and well, if I was running around with my flag upside down, or if I ran around with the lapel pin of this weirdo flag that was flying, or if I did anything that was untoward, I would be standing before the Missouri bar.
And that's all I'm saying, that
the rules for us are different.
Yeah. We're being scared, judged with two different scales. And like I said, I'm ashamed of myself that I didn't vote. I used to vote on the little small elections even. But when you don't feel that your vote counts, it's only natural.
Right.
But but that's also the part of, that they want to beat you down enough to where you just don't show up.
But that's the job of the people that are representing us. Now, didn't bring you on for this, but Miss Burton is running for prosecutor here in Kansas City. And
absolutely, and she is the most qualified.
Right. Well, see, we've talked about our qualifications, but bringing this into this, how if this guy stole a cake that's white, and this guy stole a cake that's Chinese, and this guy stole a cake that is black, and you give those two probation, or you don't prosecute them, and then you prosecute the black guy to the fullest extent. I just seen this case. Some lady, y'all would know better than me. They just released her. She had voted or did something by mistake because she had been
the one that had like the SIS probation, and she was still on probation.
Yeah,
and they prosecuted her.
That type of stuff is only happening to us,
right?
And so how there's no other way I can say. There is no law and there is no judicial system, as far as I'm concerned. They have it there, and it's all for looks. And I'm crossing again. When you look at what they've done to the Palestinians, and we're talking about legal systems, all right. No, you got to stop all of this for 2 months. But by the time they stop, there's nothing else to do but stop. You can't do nothing else. You done bombed and took the people's stuff, and it's all legal. 1948, it was called Palestine. No such thing as Israel. Now there's no Palestine, and it's Israel. And it's all been by might, and it's all been legal. And so when we talk about legality, right, I'm a historian per se. And when you look at all the great fortunes, entities, the this, the that, all of them, they were gangsters. And
they were all stolen.
Yeah, right. That's all I'm saying. And what they do is use this is their law. This ain't our law. And,
it's not.
And they use the law to say it's legitimate. It's legitimate for me to put you in slavery. It's legitimate for redlining. It's legitimate. The law states it. And so this whole conversation, because y'all are the lawyers, is about how do you feel about some of this? And y'all let me know. Let our audience know. Do what I say have any weight?
When you say, does what you say have any weight, what do you mean by that?
The things that I described and how I feel as a Black man, and not just as a Black man, as a Black entrepreneur. There's an I can't get no capital to do anything. And all of this is in the fabric of our legal system. Even the bankruptcies, all of this stuff.
Well, Mr. Nelson, I think that it goes back to it all goes back to who are people voting for. it all goes back to the vote. And when we vote or when we don't vote, individuals get into office who have an opportunity to, and who have a different agenda other than diversity and inclusion, who can say, okay, well, we know these people over here, this section they vote, but only, 10% of this section votes. So we can do what we want with them. And therein lies the problem. Where
right.
it's
Well, with you saying that, I mean, this is something that I've just had to learn with running for office because, I'm a lawyer. I'm not a politician. I'm seeking a political office now. But what you do learn, and when you're out like canvassing or you're trying to get votes and reaching certain voting blocks, what you learn is that where a lot of times where they're going to put their focus are by the ones that have the highest voter turnout. Right. And where you're going to focus your resources are the ones that are going to come out, that are going to A, show up to vote, and B, that are going to vote in your primary. So if it's an area that's going to vote primarily a certain way, that you're not going to win that base anyway, then you're not going to focus your time and resources there. But I have seen where just being in politics, the way how some groups are just completely left out of the conversation because they're saying, oh, well, they don't vote anyway. Or it's such a small representative of the population that it's not going to matter if you talk to those people or not. Now, me, I'm of the mindset, if they're not voting, let's go out and reach them anyway, get them registered, because if you can do that, that goes back to your, block voting. If you can get all of those people to register and actually show up to vote, then you have more political power and political pull. And so if you can get those people who are historically not voting to then participate just in the election, in the voting process, that's how you make the shift. Because even though a lot of it is a republic to where we vote for people in office that then vote for us and vote for what's supposed to be our interest, if not enough people are showing up to get people in that are aligning with your interests, then we're kind of stuck with who we have. And because if a non-vote is just, acquiescing to whoever gets it is the one that gets to speak for me. And so like on the April 2nd vote, that was one that was actually a direct vote of the people, a yes or a no, and not left to people who are in the electorate to decide for us, but it was a direct vote of the people.
And I'm sorry for cutting you off, but that sent a direct message to the downtown council and the political operatives that think that they can take our tax dollars and do what they want. And that's what I'm saying. I feel timing is everything. And at this particular time and space, especially minorities, they're tired and they're not just going to give their vote, their money, or their attention to things that are not going to give a return on that investment.
Right. 100%.
And that vote is powerful.
Absolutely.
It is powerful. I mean, and that's, one thing I like about canvassing and knocking doors is the people will tell you exactly how they feel. And if you're listening, you're going to do well. If you don't listen to the people, they're going to show you time and time again at the ballot box that this is what we want and this is what we're saying. And we saw that with the April 2nd vote, is that people were speaking and certain people in power weren't listening. And the people came out and showed them, okay, well, if you're not going to listen, this is what we're going to do. And you have to be, if you're running for office, you can't be so arrogant to think that people are just going to fall in line with what you want because you've got the money to push around. Because it's going to matter what people bubble in when they get into that ballot box. And so when I'm out talking to people, one of the things that they always say is, hey, they appreciate that somebody is actually coming out to talk to them. knocking on doors and going door to door, it seems to be a lost art lately, and I don't know why. Because that's where, if you really care about the people in the community and you want to serve the people in the community, it's important you ask the people in the community what is important to them, what are your issues, and not just ask and hear it for the purpose of the election, but when you get to the seat where they put you, actually doing what you said you were going to do.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, not just promising everything and delivering nothing, but actually doing what you said, being the person they elected, being the person that was at their door knocking and asking, instead of, well, I got mine and now it's by four and no more, and then being beholden to the puppeteers that write checks.
So, Ms. DuPree, we're gonna get ready to close this out, but what I'm looking at doing is having both of y'all back on probably next month to talk about some of these legal issues. And I just had my little epiphany that having y'all, if you all are willing to come on maybe once a month to talk about legal issues that we should be aware of, and how all this comes in to block voting, and it all stems around communications. Because if you cannot communicate to the bottom
Mhm.
2/3 that you want them to come out, that you want them to be engaged, you still are going to have that small specific group, and most of them are elderly like myself on fixed incomes, and the establishment controls all of your community organizations. Nobody can't tell me different, and
Right.
they use them to perpetuate whatever it is that they're trying to perpetuate. But from my perspective, we have the tools to wake our community up, and now we just have to put the work in. So
Absolutely.
how
And
out, Ms. DuPree?
absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Nelson. And thank you again to Cascade Media. And I am absolutely honored to be here with attorney Stephenie Burton, who is on the ballot to be the
Like
Jackson
that.
County prosecutor, because she will make our community safe. But just to back up just a little bit, you know, in 2020, something happened that never happened before. Stacey Abrams, and I know we're talking about this block voting. Stacey Abrams did something that Miss Burton, that attorney Burton is talking about, looking at these communities, looking at these sects, looking at these districts, looking at these portions of our city, of our county, of our state, where they just kind of counted us out. And she turned a red state blue because she got individuals registered to vote. And it's important that here in Missouri, which just to make a full circle, Clarence Thomas is licensed to practice in the state of Missouri. And he had Senator Danforth running him around to other senators in the United States Congress to promote him. So it's very important that we get our individuals, get our citizens who are disenfranchised, who don't have a voice, get them registered to vote. And even if you are a prior felon, you can vote as long as you're not on paper, meaning you're not on supervision. So I think
that today.
Absolutely,
well,
100%.
listen, I told you I'm a gangster posing as a businessman.
Hey, and I told you I'm a criminal. I told you I'm a criminal defense attorney. Show me, baby.
Yeah,
Right,
hey, so you know, I had to get my voting privileges back because
100%.
And that's why I'm still dismayed that I didn't vote the last, but I was just so dismayed. And like I said, it's not just when you vote, the people that represent you, and that's Freedom Inc. Let's not play no games with any of that. If they don't represent you, it's just like you didn't vote.
But here's the thing. All that is water under the bridge.
No,
all
I'm
that is
going forward.
Yeah, that's back then is water under the bridge. We right now, May 23rd, 2024, we moving forward. This is a new day. We have an opportunity to change our county, to change our state, to change our country. And I will be honored to speak and do whatever I can to help my people understand, and all people, my people are all people, to understand.
Well, I'm different. I'm like, because the white people, and I talk white and black to the white people, I'm like, this is the Black Network. You're on 100% of all forms of communications. And when we start talking our family business and our business that are concerning just us, I hate to even come like this, but these things are on my mind. The Jewish community, they lost.
Well, here's one thing. Christopher Wray, who does everybody know who Christopher Wray is? He is the director of the FBI.
Okay.
He said that the Jewish people need to be ever vigilant right now, because the domestic terrorism here in the United States of America is so high. And I said, he's just talking about the Jewish people. Well, what about the Black people?
Well, that's what was trying to point out. Ever since the Holocaust, the Jewish people say we lost 2 million people.
And they did. And it's terrible.
They will not let the world forget that. We lost close to 50 million Black people.
And you know what?
They talk about us like a dog in public, in general. I'm talking about the United States, the people that don't have melanin in their skin.
But Mr. Nelson, they do.
Yeah, but I'm saying they never let us forget this. And that's because they have block voting and they have group economics.
100%.
All right.
And it is terrible what happened to them. And it is a tragedy what has happened to us, because we are still suffering the effects of it. And if Christopher Wray, W-R-A-Y, go Google it, if he told our Jewish brothers and sisters that they need to be ever vigilant, hyper vigilant, then you know we as Black Americans need to protect our vote, need to protect our rights, and need to protect ourselves.
All right, that's good to close on. Steph, what you closing on? Boy, hey Steph, you was looking like the sponge, honey. SpongeBob. You was listening. Yeah, you was listening. And how you closing out, sister?
Well, first of all, thank you, Carlos, for what you do, and the way you've championed just having a Black-owned network and making sure that you get the opinions out of the people, and you do it a lot of the time self-funded. I mean, I would encourage people to actually look at Cascade Media Group, invest, join the community business association, and I mean, and it's really a steal. It's a bargain for what you're getting. Join it, support it, because if we want to have representation, we have to support our communities. We have to support Black-owned businesses and Black-owned networks. Invest in ourselves to make our communities better. That's my shameless plug for Cascade Media Group. who has been very good to me, and has also been a very strong voice for decades, in making sure that we have representation among our communities. The other thing is, Carlos, anytime you call me and ask me, I'm here. I'll do it. Anytime you want another Lady Justice Hour with me and Mr. DuPree, we'll come out and we will do it. Please, people, vote, 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 vote in these elections. It is important. Not just the one I'm running in, which is August 6th, by the way. Make sure you show up for that.
And that's her birthday.
It is my birthday.
All right, we're going to do something special for that. See, she is a member of the Kansas City Business Association. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, Steph, because do you feel, since you paid your membership, the interaction that you've had with me being president of that also, have I tried to put you in position in every way to further your goal to get elected with people I know and with the network and what have you? And that's collaboration. And
absolutely.
And you
and what I
go ahead.
What I like about you, Mr. Nelson, is even before I paid the $400 for the membership dues, you were still trying to do everything to help me, and you didn't know me from Adam before that. And you saw me as a young African American woman that's trying to do something great in the community, and you interviewed me and you got on board with me, and you tried to help me even before approaching. So it wasn't like, oh, I'll sell you this package and then I'll do this. The package sold itself because you were already doing the work. And so me becoming a member, that was a no-brainer. Me telling other people to become a member, that was a no-brainer because I saw your heart and the way you do the work even without being paid. And so me paying the membership fee, that was just a small drop in the bucket because you were already being supportive, and you supporting other people should make people want to support you. And so it was my pleasure and my honor to join and support because you were already doing everything that you promised. It's exactly like it is in the brochure that you're going to promote the business or whatever it is that you're trying to do and trying to accomplish. And I wish people would just give more seed money into people that are actually doing the work, the people that are actually working in the community. And you do something that is just so pure with trying to spread awareness, even with local teenagers. If they want a show, if they want a column, you offer that to them, that creativity that's uncensored to be able to not be dictated. And so many times we're stifled. And so thank you for what it is that you do. And it's worth the investment because not only will he do what he said he was going to do, he does that anyway, but he then tries to push you to other people and other networks so that you can expand beyond what you even thought was possible. So I can't advertise it enough.
Well, in closing out, as we always say, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Good night.
This is brought to you by Kansas City Business Association, working to improve our community.